Alright, so the first thing that you need to understand about chaining before we go any further is spell speeds. So first we're just going to go through the different spell speeds and what cards are those spell speeds. So first of all, spell speed 1. Spell speed 1 cards include things like normal spells, equip spells, field spells, continuous spells, and a lot of monster effects are spell speed 1s. Ritual spells would also fall into the spell speed 1 category. Into spell speed 2s. Spell speed 2s are going to include things like your normal trap cards, your continuous trap cards, your quick play spell cards, and then there's a good number of monster effects that also all fall under the spell speed 2 category. It's a Stardust Dragon, if you can't tell there. And finally, spell speed 3, the fastest spell speed. The only kind of card that is a spell speed 3 is a counter trap card. And you can see a counter trap card, this nice up close here. Camera, little symbol there. That's not focusing. You can kind of see it a little better from back here. Alright, so now let's talk about chaining. So first of all, one of these kind of cards, the spell speed 1s, always are going to have to be, they can only be the start of a chain. You can't activate one of these cards in response. For example, like let's say that I had this Heavy Storm in my hand, and you were to play, you have this Torrential Tribute face down. So we're going to say that you summon your Sangan and activate Torrential Tribute because you want to destroy your Sangan. There's no way that I can activate my Heavy Storm at that point. Like, it's just not going to happen. It's not allowed. In no way, shape, or form is that ever going to be possible. However, you can do things like if I have this Heavy Storm face down, or I'm going to activate this Heavy Storm, and you have this Solemn Judgment face down, you can activate the Solemn Judgment in response to that spell speed 1. So it goes from spell speed 1 to spell speed 3. At this point, the only card that you could activate in response to this Solemn Judgment would be another spell speed 3 card. So, you know, if you had another Solemn Judgment, or if there was a Dark Bribe, that would work. But you couldn't do something like Mystical Space Typhoon it, because Mystical Space Typhoon is a spell speed 2. Alright, I hope I'm not going too fast for everybody. Luckily this is a video and you can go backwards. Alright, so the next step that we're going to be looking at is trying to understand what goes on when we're resolving a chain. And that can be one of the tricky things here, because whenever we're going to resolve a chain, we're going to work backwards. Okay, so we have a situation set up here where we have some cards back here in this back row, we've got some cards back here in this back row, and we're just going to kind of go through a series of events to show you what happens. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to say that this player activates their face down Call of the Haunted. And Call of the Haunted is going to target their Cyber Dragon, but for now that's still in the graveyard. Alright, so now since this player has activated their Call of the Haunted, play passes over to the purple player here, and they get to decide if they want to activate a spell or trap card. So do they? They're going to say no. And at this point, now because no cards are being activated, pet play will pass back to this player. Does this player want to activate any cards? They're going to say no. Okay. Now Cyber Dragon's going to get special summoned to the field. Alright. Now that the Cyber Dragon has been special summoned to the field, we're going to say this back player activates their Torrential Tribute. Now the Torrential Tribute's been activated by this player. This is a spell speed 2, which means that this player over here is going to have to respond with a spell speed 2. So, or spell speed 3. So we're going to say that this player back here is going to activate their face down Forbidden Lance, and they're going to target this Cyber Dragon. At this point, Torrential Tribute's still sitting here on the field, and play will pass back to the purple player, and the purple player will have to decide if they want to activate another card. So the purple player says, yes, I'm going to activate a card in response to the Forbidden Lance. I'm going to activate my face down Solemn Judgment. Face down Solemn Judgment, that's a spell speed 3, and it says you have to pay half your life points. Before anything happens, right now, these life points get paid. Whenever you have to pay a cost in Yu-Gi-Oh!, the card cost is paid upon the activation. So it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't matter if the Solemn Judgment gets negated or not, you pay half your life points right this second. Okay, so now that we've paid half our life points, play is going to pass back to this player, and does this player want to activate anything? And we're going to say yes, this player also wants to activate their Solemn Judgment. Alright, so now we've got a nice long, multi-link chain going on here, and it's all legal. This player was able to activate their Solemn Judgment because it's a spell speed 3 in response to this one. And now we're going to resolve backwards. So if you've been paying attention, we have the starting event. The summoning of a monster does not have a spell speed. Okay, this is just a timing issue. The Torrential Tribute can only be activated at the time that a monster is summoned. So this is Chain Link 1. The Torrential Tribute is Chain Link 1. Alright, so Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, Chain Link 3, Chain Link 4. Alright, so now we're going to resolve by going backwards. So the first thing that happens is Chain Link 4 was our Solemn Judgment here. And Solemn Judgment says it's going to negate and destroy this Solemn Judgment. Alright, so that happens. Boom. And this is destroyed. This goes to the graveyard. Since that Solemn Judgment was negated, that means that we're going to go back to the next step, to 2, and that's the Forbidden Lance. Forbidden Lance. Alright, so here's our next demonstration. I'm going to show you the cards ahead of time here for the white player. The white player has a Mystical Space Typhoon and a Book of Moon face down. These are both spell speed 2s. And we're going to say that our player over here is going to activate their Mystical Space Typhoon, and they're going to target this card right here in our purple player's back row. So when this happens, the purple player says, okay, I'm going to chain with my Mystical Space Typhoon, and I'm going to target your face down card. And they say, okay, I don't have anything to activate because there's no monster in the field to Book of Moon. And play passes back to the purple player now, and the purple player says, okay, yes, I'm going to activate another card in chain to this Mystical Space Typhoon, and I'm going to activate another Mystical Space Typhoon, and I'm going to target my own card. And do you have a response to that? And they say, no, I don't. This is the white player again. I don't have a response. Play passes back to the purple player again. Do you have any response? And they say, yes, I want to activate my Call of the Haunted. And when I do, I'm going to use it to bring back the Sangan that's sitting in my graveyard. So at this point, the first thing that's going to resolve is going to be the effect of the Call of the Haunted, because we're going to look at our spell speeds again. This is our chain links, excuse me. Chain link 4, 3, 2, and 1. Alright, so the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to special summon that Sangan to the field. Now, we are in the middle of resolving a chain. We are in the middle of going backwards and working our way through the chain. So even though the monster just got summoned to the field, because we're in the middle of resolving a chain, we can't activate this Book of Moon. Because you cannot activate a card in the middle of a chain's resolution. So, at this point, the Sangan will get special summoned to the field. Then this Mystical Space Typhoon over here is going to resolve. It's going to destroy the Call of the Haunted. At that time, the Sangan is going to go to the graveyard. Okay, Sangan has an effect that activates when it goes to the graveyard, but remember what I just said. We can't activate an effect in the middle of a chain. So we're going to come back to him here in a second. Okay, so now that Mystical Space Typhoon is used up, along with the Call of the Haunted that it destroyed, and those are gone. we now go back to this Mystical Space Typhoon, which is going to destroy this back row card. Boom. And that goes to the graveyard. And then finally this Mystical Space Typhoon resolves and all the cards are in the graveyard. Now that the chain has resolved, now Sangan's effect will take effect. This is the point that will activate that Sangan's effect. So at that point, we can go ahead and we can search out, whatever monster that we want in order to, proceed. Alright, so I mentioned this before, but I just want to reiterate again. It doesn't matter if you're Xyz summoning, I don't care if you're Synchro summoning, I don't care if you're normal summoning, tribute summoning. The summon of a monster itself does not have a spell speed. I said this before, but it is important to understand that the summon of a monster itself does not have a spell speed. A card that is special summoning the monster, that can be a spell speed. An effect that activates upon the summon can trigger and be chain link 1, but the actual summon of a monster itself is not a spell speed. It's a timing issue, or it's just that's what's happening, which means like a torrential tribute or a bottomless trap hole that says this card is activated at the time that a monster is summoned. So that's the appropriate time to be activating it when the monster is brought to the field. Now, there's some effects, like I got my good friend Jinzo out here. Jinzo's effect is a continuous effect. So as long as Jinzo is face up on the field, the effects of trap cards are negated and they can't be activated. So, this is a continuous effect, and this begins its effect as soon as he is considered summoned. So if I had a face down Call of the Haunted, let me find one here. Okay, so I got my Call of the Haunted, put it face down, and I flip summon it, and nothing is activated to negate it. Okay, at that point the Jinzo comes back. Now that it's here on the field, now its effect becomes active, which means even that Call of the Haunted is negated, and if it was destroyed, the Jinzo would actually stay. Now, there's a couple of cards here. We got our Bottomless Trap Hole, and we're going to pull out, where's our Solemn Judgment, who we've been using all day. Okay. So we've got a Bottomless Trap Hole here, and we've got our Solemn Judgment, and we're going to put them both face down. And right here we've got our Call of the Haunted, and we've got our Jinzo in the graveyard. So we're going to activate that Call of the Haunted, and we're going to target that Jinzo. So here's how this works. The options here are we can activate the Solemn Judgment right now, okay, and negate the Call of the Haunted, or we can choose not to. If we choose not to, as soon as the Jinzo hits the field, its effect becomes active. That means the Jinzo has been summoned, its effect becomes active. Well, that was the timing requirement for that Bottomless Trap Hole. So since the Jinzo is summoned, and that's the timing, its effect is in play, and that's why you cannot Bottomless Trap Hole him. And this is just kind of an explanation about the continuous effects, so effects that come into play as soon as the card is considered activated. So another good reference to this is that Ancient City Rainbow Ruins, and if you've ever played against a Crystal Beast deck, Ancient City Rainbow Ruins can be a particularly pain in the butt card to get around, because if they have a Crystal Beast anywhere in their back row, just one, this card cannot be destroyed. So let's say that I was to activate that Ancient City Rainbow Ruins and you had a face down Mystical Space Typhoon. This is spell speed 1, this comes into play. As soon as this is activated, you can target it with the Mystical Space Typhoon. The Mystical Space Typhoon's effect will resolve before all these continuous effects, including that continuous effect that protects it from being destroyed, is actually considered in play, which means that the Rainbow Ruins can actually be destroyed even if you have 5 Crystal Beasts in the back row. These are all just little tricks that you can use and kind of understand. As soon as a card is placed onto the field, you can activate it. You can choose to activate a card like Mystical Space Typhoon if it's already on the field or something. it's all about the timing. As long as the timing is correct, um, there's no issues. So that's all you're trying to figure out is if your timing is correct. And by knowing your spell speeds and always making sure to count backwards in terms of like this is effect 1, effect 2, effect 3. You're going backwards from okay 3 resolves, 2 resolves, 1 resolves. You'll always be able to figure out what to do. So I hope this lesson's helped you out, and I hope now you understand why it's supposed to be 3 cards, or you have to pay so many lift points or discard cards for them. Why they have such high costs is because they are the fastest cards that the hardest ones to stop, and that trickles down backwards. All right, this is your lesson, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Class dismissed.